Before we begin, I just want to thank you for the support. We're close to 4,000 subscribers and every one of you keeps this channel alive. If these stories speak to you, please consider subscribing. And let me know your thoughts in the comments, it truly means a lot. I was standing in the dim kitchen at 2 in the morning when her phone lit up on the counter. A name I'd never seen flashed across the screen, followed by 7 words that felt like a punch. Can't stop thinking about tonight. She'd spent the entire evening telling me I was paranoid for asking why she'd been so distant, why her smile never reached her eyes anymore. Seeing that message, everything snapped into place. The late nights, the guarded phone, the sudden coldness, none of it was in my head. She had been lying, and she had no idea I'd finally caught a glimpse of the truth. What she didn't know was that her message was about to expose everything. We didn't start with fireworks. We started with something steadier. The kind of connection that grows quietly until one day you realize you can't imagine your life without them. That's how it was when I met my wife. We built our home piece by piece, handling bills, chores, and tough seasons like a team. Whenever life pushed against us, we pushed back together. I trusted her completely, and I worked hard to keep our marriage solid, believing effort and loyalty were enough to hold us steady. For a long time they were. But slowly something shifted. Our movie nights turned into nights where she sat scrolling on her phone, barely hearing me. Conversations got shorter, colder, like she was saving her warmth for somewhere else. She stopped laughing at my jokes, stopped reaching for my hand, stopped looking at me like I was the man she chose. I told myself she was stressed, overwhelmed, maybe just burned out from work. I wanted to believe that. But stress doesn't usually come with secretive smiles, and a phone she guards like a diary. The distance between us didn't feel accidental. It felt directed, and I couldn't ignore that anymore. Not anymore tonight. It started with little things, the kind you try to shrug off because you don't want to seem insecure. She began keeping her phone glued to her hand, turning it face down whenever I walked by. Then she'd come home from work and head straight to the shower, barely saying hello, like she needed to wash something off before facing me. When I'd ask simple questions, how was your day, who were you out with, her tone sharpened, as if curiosity were an accusation. Suddenly there were more girls' nights, more late returns, and once when she hugged me goodnight, I caught a faint scent of cologne that definitely wasn't mine. I kept telling myself not to jump to conclusions. I didn't want to be that controlling husband, the one who polices every movement. But every time I voiced even the slightest concern, she'd roll her eyes and call me paranoid, like I was imagining shadows in a well-lit room. I didn't know it yet, but the pattern I was seeing wasn't random, it was intentional. And instead of arguing with someone determined to deny everything, I made a quiet decision. I would start paying attention to what her actions revealed, not her words. One night I woke up to an empty space beside me, the kind of silence that feels wrong even before you know why. I found her in the living room, hunched over her phone, whispering like every word might shatter if spoken too loud. When she noticed me, she jerked upright, forcing a smile and claiming it was just a coworker going through a breakup. I let it go, not because I believed her, but because pressing her never led anywhere except to another accusation. A few hours later, her phone lit up at 2 in the morning. The message read, "Can't stop thinking about tonight," sent by someone saved as Megan, though the preview showed a man's profile picture. Before I could react, she snatched the phone, locked it, and demanded to know why I was checking up on her. Then she laughed, the same dismissive laugh she'd used every time she wanted to make me doubt myself, and walked back to bed like nothing mattered. I didn't follow. I didn't raise my voice. I just stood there, cold, settling in where hurt used to live. That was the moment everything inside me switched from emotional to analytical completely. I spent the next few days moving quietly, letting her think I was still stuck in that fog of doubt she'd pushed me into. Meanwhile, I started gathering information. Our shared phone records showed late-night calls from an unfamiliar number. Always on the same nights she claimed she was out with friends. I checked our credit card statements and saw charges from bars and hotels that didn't line up with anything she'd mentioned. Piece by piece, the picture sharpened. The number belonged to a coworker she once called annoying, someone she claimed barely spoke to her. He was married too. That detail changed everything. I reached out to his wife, unsure how she'd react, but she answered with the exhausted tone of someone who'd been carrying her own suspicions for too long. We compared dates, stories, and finally evidence. She sent me screenshots, explicit messages between my wife and her husband, messages that erased any remaining doubt. I didn't feel anger anymore, just a steady clarity. I had everything I needed, and I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't